Okay, so today we're going to take a look at what is making ruts competitive. And there are a few things in particular that make a rut more or less competitive. If we just take a look at the ruts in front of me here, we can see that the inside is obviously the primary choice here, because it both starts before the other ones, and it looks to be higher, which is easier to hit, and it also sets you up great for the next turn. So we can expect most people to use the inside coming off of the finish line jump. Just to show you what I mean here. If you're coming right here, normally you would just take the inside. I mean, it's not too nice to just go around like that. It just isn't flowy and good. It's the same as here. The inside is very open. It's a very simple rut to hit. And the outside again is not very competitive, as it's a longer way around and it's just not as easy to enter and exit as the inside. Here we can see that we have a better choice, in my opinion. The outside is still fairly uncompetitive as it's far on the outside. We also have two ruts here going into one, meaning that we'll have the same exit point. We can also see that depending on where you end up after the single, you do have a choice. You also have a choice if you want to go on a very tight inside. The reason I think that the inside here may be competitive is that it sets you better up for the next turn, as if you look at here, we will enter fairly far to the right, meaning that we have to turn sharp in these bumps, which makes it rather hard to do, and especially on a 250 you need quite a lot of speed to clear the jump that's up ahead. And if we then come around to the inside here, we can see that we come very far to the left. We can just sneak up right here and easily carry the speed we need to clear the jump. Because quite a lot of times when I've tried taking the middle rut or the outside, it's quite easy to slide out in the bumps, because you have to turn so much in such a short period of time. I'll try and see if that happens now. As you see, it's a little bit too much for the bike to handle with the traction that the track uses. So that was one great example, in my opinion, on a quite competitive rut with a few options. Here we have another one. You can see that coming to the inside we have braking bumps. We also have a lot of bumps in the rut itself and bumps going out of it. Also not too much run out to clear the tabletop that's up ahead. So if we look at this, quite a lot of bumps, still bumpy, and you don't really get the drive to clear the tabletop. If we take a look at the other ruts here, we can see that we have one quite close to the inside one. So this one, it also has a few bumps, but it has a better run up as it's further out. It also has smaller bumps in it and not really as much braking bumps going into the rut itself. It's a few less. And we can also see we have this rut going into the outside berm with almost unnoticeable braking bumps. The braking bumps and bumps in general that's for these ones are very small and spread apart and stuff, so you won't really be affected by them too much, making the outside a quite solid choice for safety reasons. Might be wrong to say, but it's quite safe to go around outside. You won't really fall or trip on any bumps, and you will get enough speed to clear the tabletop. We can take a look at this turn once again here. Inside we have a little bit of bump here, a few big bumps here and sort of a kick. We also have a few bumps in the first single here, so you will land in a few bumps. Here we can see we have a little smoother entrance, still quite bumpy and not as much bumps when you land. And then we can see that we have two ruts going into one here, and especially the outside almost has no bumps at all in it. both ruts enter the same place. We can also see that the outside rear lens is quite flat. We also have a little bit of a berm on the first single, so you will get something to bank off of when you're coming out sideways. I had to add the bank here, because otherwise you would come out of the rut and be completely facing the wrong direction. You would be going off the track, because you would have to turn so much. So adding a little bit of a bank definitely helped to stay on track and something to bank off from. Here again we can see that we have a rut. You have to go quite slow in order to be able to make it, and you have to really aim for it on the inside. So if you come here, you have to turn really much to be able to land in it. Once again here we can see that we have a few ruts, bumpy on the inside, quite a lot of bumps coming out of them, while the two outside ruts are quite open and not so bumpy. These are by no means the best rut there are, as the inside is still quite easy to do, but on a 250 this is a quite big jump, and with the ruts you may want to take the outside just to be able to clear the jump, as you get more run up and less bumpiness. So I think you've gotten the idea of what is making a rut competitive or not. As you can see, I came up short. I did not get the best drive, but still I did come up short, and I doubt I would have that if I had done the outside. Yet again here we can see we have a nice rut on the outside to be able to get a lot of speed, because the inside prior to adding that rut was clearly the main choice. Coming up here you would just go to the inside, jump a little bit and then blast off. But you do have to shake up a little bit, and my idea is that if you're chasing someone and do not want to follow them, the outside could be an alternative. At least it's way more of an alternative with a rut than without, as you have something to get some speed from. And yet again here we can see that the inside rut will be the main one, as it starts first and it's quite simple. So to prevent this you can do a few things. You can choose where the rut should start. So let's say that this rut starts around here. This will obviously make it very competitive, as you immediately have something to lean into. And let's say that this rut would start at this point. Then you would really have to be careful on the inside, go slow, and you wouldn't have anything to lean into until this point. So you would have to go really slow up until that point, while as the outside rut here you could just more or less blast through all the way. So what we can take from this is that the ruts further out should start earlier, like this. It's not perfect, but I hope you get the idea that if you're on the outside you need to have higher speed in order to do the same amount of turn in the same. If you're on the outside you have more way to travel. That means you have to have higher speed through the turn in order to do the turn at the same time as someone on the inside. So by having the rut start earlier you can lean into the rut and carry more speed as you bank off the rut through the whole turn. You can also set up braking bumps both before and regular bumps in the rut and bumps after, in order to make it harder to get, and you have to slow down more and be more precise with the rut. While outside it's a longer line, but you can have more speed and it's easier to clear, while the inside is way shorter but it's also harder to do. And this is a mix and match, trial and error. You really have to try and see what's working, what's not. I know I didn't show off too much on how to do stuff, but I have a tutorial on ruts. I am going to make one on how to make realistic ruts as well, and I do have one on braking bumps. So just combine those tutorials. This rut, an example, quite big bumps, and then you will have to push in order to make the double. If we look at the middle rut here, it's not as much bumps. You can carry quite good amount of speed. We have a rut going out of the rut as well. And it's quite easy to do the jumps. Same here, more braking bumps, and it's harder to get to the inside rut. The one next to it is a little bit easier to hit and not as much bumps. Then we can look at the third one. This is more interesting as it's not too much bumps in it, but it sort of shots you to the side of the track, and that is where the bank and the rut is. Here as well, as you're getting out from this, you can bank off that rut as well. And since you have to travel a longer distance, as it's on the outside compared to the inside, the bank is there so you can carry more speed and bank off of it quite fast. And let's see the sort of berm on the outside here. Almost free from bumps, not much. You can also use the bank there if you feel like it. So this should give you a pretty good idea on how to make outsides and inside sort of equally fast and equally competitive, as well as inside and outside ruts, what to think of. Because if you don't think about this stuff, you will end up with a one-line track with the insides probably being the fastest line around. If you don't have any insides, it will probably be the berms on the outsides if you have those. So this is to prevent one-line track, also make the tracks more competitive. So I hope you could learn something from this video and apply this to your own tracks. We get some sweet competitive tracks out for the community. I hope you learned something, and I see you in my next video.